Hi. So I'm working on my model trains, and I'm needing to use a bit of styrene to do all the mountains and things. But I didn't have the tool to cut it properly without it looking kind of manky. Because when you try to use a Stanley knife or one of these types of blade things, it tends to cut sort of like this, because you can't get the blade all the way through to the other edge when you need it. So what I've done is I've actually made my own, styro slicer or polystyrene cutter device here, for, pretty much chump change. The only new things I had to buy were these springs. We've got a spring at each end here. I got those from Bunnings for $2.70 a piece. The heat wire came out of an electric heater. I actually pulled one of the windings out of the heater, which is this here. I disconnected one winding and left the other winding intact so that the heat is now a single heat speed, not two heat speed, but it still functions. So out of all this, I only took out probably three or four of the windings here, to get all this length here. I've actually got a little bit left over at the end. This one is electrically safe to use as it's powered by a standard 12 volt lead acid car battery charger. The frame's pretty much, well, as you can see, it's a chair. It's the upright from a standard chair. I took some of the cross sections and screwed them as far apart as I could get them while keeping them relatively straight. And then I pretty much connect the electricity using the gator clips for the battery charger directly to the spring, which keeps it away from the hot part because this is resistive wire. So, and pretty much it works really well. So just turn the power onto it. Now this isn't using a great deal of power as the charger's not going through its cut-on cut-off cycle. It thinks it's running into a relatively charged battery, so it's not under a lot of load, but it's relatively quick. When you're using these sorts of things, you don't want to be using them indoors unless you've got ventilation. I've got a fan running at the moment to keep just to keep the air moving. But the idea is, because I want to make the mountains here, what I need to do is slice, because I've got a whole bunch of cheap polystyrene. This is all packaging stuff, and pretty much what I'm doing is slicing it up so that I can do what they call layering. So I can layer them up, cut each section out, sort of thing, and then put the layer down, and then put the next one above it, that sort of thing. It's just a lot easier than what I was initially doing, which was taking a block and cutting sections out of it, kind of like what I was doing over there, but it just looks untidy. So I've pretty much come up with this contraption here just to get the job done pretty much. What I'm using is blocks like this, so they're relatively big, and then pretty much just using the freezer as a rough guide. I mean, I'm not too careful with it. I'm just pretty much in getting it done. What I will do eventually is, once I know it's all happy and stuff, is just put a sort of a fence sort of thing across it, and it should work quite well. I mean, the cut that's done isn't too bad considering most of it's done by freehand. You do get sort of the patterning here, because the element itself isn't exactly dead straight, because it, as you saw, it was folded around this here. But I mean, this is a 240 volt element. If it was 110, they would have center tapped it down here, sort of thing. But I've only taken off a small section of it, and I'm running it through 12 volt. I'm not sure what sort of power it's using. I can't imagine it'd be too much. As I said, the charger's not doing its click on, click off, which it'd do if it was trying to charge a flat battery, so it's not going into overload, which means that it could probably run this all day, every day. And I've got plenty of the wire left in case it burns out. And the springs are cheap. The only thing you've got to watch is the fumes coming off of the styrene, pretty much. But yeah, so that's pretty much a hacked together styro slicer, which is electrically safe, unlike some of the ones I've seen on the internet where they've got steel wire directly connected through to 110 or a 240 volt, which is just too dangerous. So if you're using this a mains version of this and you accidentally slip, it's going to hurt. You're going to get the full mains voltage, and if you're like me standing on concrete, there's a good chance that you'll cop a whack straight through you into ground, which will probably end up with you being dead if you're on 240, which we are here. But yeah, so it's electrically safe. It's plenty hot enough to cut through even stuff like this without too much hassle. It's not actually glowing red, though I won't touch it because it is hot. But yeah, the only thing you have to watch for is fumes, and make sure other things that are blowing around don't touch it, like curtains and things like that, and you should be sweet. So yeah, ghetto style styro slicer. Thanks for watching.